Hi everyone, I'm Lin and in my part, I'm going to contrast mechanistic and organic structures. The mechanistic organization was the natural result of combining six elements of structures, adhering to the chain of command principle, ensure the existence of a formal hierarchy of authority, with each person controlled and supervised by one superior, keeping the span of control small at increasingly higher levels in the organization created tall, impersonal structures. As the distance between the top and the bottom of the organization expands, top management would increasingly impose rules and regulations because the top managers couldn't control lower level activities through direct observation and ensure the use of standard practices. They substitute rules and regulations. The organic organization is a highly adaptive form that is as loose and flexible as the mechanistic organization is rigid and stable. Rather than having standardized jobs and regulations, the organic organization loose structure allows it to change rapidly as required. It has division of labor, but the jobs people do are not standardized. Employees tend to be professionals who are technically proficient and trained to handle diverse problems. They need few formal rules and little direct supervision because their training has instilled in them standards of professional conduct.
So in this learning objective, we have four parts. First, strategy and structure, science and structure, technology and structure. Finally, we have environmental uncertainty and structure.
Hi everyone, my name is Như. So now we'll go to the learning objective number 3, contingency factors affecting structural choice. We'll go through the first part in the learning objective that strategy and structure. An organization's structure should facilitate goal achievement because goals are an important part of organization's strategies. It's only logical that strategy and structure are closely linked. Research has shown that certain structural design work best with different organization strategies. For instance, the flexibility and free-flowing information of the organic structure works well when an organization is pursuing meaningful and unique innovations. The mechanistic organization with its efficiency, stability, and tight controls work best with the companies wanting to tightly control costs. So there's considerable evidence that an organization's size affects its structure. While large organizations typically considered to be those with more than 2,000 employees tend to have more specialization, departmentalization, centralization, and rules and regulation to do than do small organizations. So, however, once an organization grows past with a certain size had less influence on structure. Well, you may ask why. So, it's essentially once there are around 2,000 employees, it's already fairly mechanistic. So adding more another 500 employees won't impact the organization the structure much. So, but on the other hand, adding more 500 employees to an organization that only have 300 employees is likely to make it more mechanistic. So every organization uses some form of technology to convert its inputs to outputs. So the initial research on technology's effects on structure can be traced to Joan Goodward, who studied small manufacturing firms in southern England to determine the extent to which structural design elements were related to the organization's success. Well, she couldn't find any consistent pattern until she divided the firms into three distinct technologies that had increasing levels to complexity and sophistication. So the first category is unit production. It describes production of items in units or small patches. The second category, mass production, describe a large patch of manufacturing. So finally, and the third and the most technically complex group is the process production. That include continuous process production. So what you can see the summary of her findings is shown in the next slide. Well, the final part in this learning objective is environmental uncertainty and structure. So some organizations face stable and simple environmental with little uncertainty, but others face with the dynamic and complex environment with a lot of uncertainty. So managers try to minimize environmental uncertainty by adjusting the organization structure. So their evidence on the environmental structure in relationship helps explain why so many managers today are restructuring their organization to be lean, fast, and flexible. Worldwide economic downturns, global competition, accelerated product innovation by competitors, and increased demands from customers for higher quality and faster delivery are examples of dynamic environmental forces. So, mechanistic organizations are not equipped to respond to rapid environmental change and environmental uncertainty. So, as a result, we are seeing the organizations that become more organic. So, it's the end of my part. Thank you for listening.
Hello everyone, now I will tell you guys some traditional organizational structure. We have the first one is the simple structure, is designed with low departmentalization, wide spans of control, civilized authority, and little formalization. Functional structure is an organizational design that groups together similar or related occupational specialties. So we have a lot of strengths and weakness between different structure. With the simple structure, we got it is very fast, it's flexible. However, ever it is not appropriate as organizational growth, and reliance on one person is risky. With the functional structure, it is cost saving and minimal duplication of people and equipment. However, employee pursuit of functional goals can cause managers to lose sight of what's best for overall organization. Functional specialists become isolated and have little understanding of what all the units are doing.
I'm going to talk about case in chapter 10. So the first question is describe and evaluate what Charlie Squab is doing. Charlie Squab is focusing on the communication with the customers to receive the direct feedback for his firm service so as to improve the weaknesses and better the strength. The company can greatly benefit from this move when the pros and cons are pointed out objectively by the customers, looking from external viewpoints. However, this works effectively in ideal feedback culture, where people frankly state their opinion about issue. This culture is quite typical in developing countries like United States, Germany, and Japan. In contrast, this may not work properly in developing countries like Vietnam due to some bias and error, which could lead to false strategic and structure. The second question is, how might the company's culture not buying into hype and not taking excessive risk affect its organizational structure design? The culture of not buying into hype and not taking excessive risk mean that these companies tend to have more mechanic design. This can be easily understood due to the mission of Charlie Schwab, firm field, finance, which require more stability in rapid changing world nowadays. Therefore, the mechanic design is more appropriate for the stability than the organic one. The centralization can be witnessed when Charlie Schwab heavily influenced the organization as omnipotent manager. The chain of command is also clear so that the manager can receive feedback and deliver to lower department quickly to respond to customers' demand. That's the end of my presentation.
Now I'm going to discuss how organizations organize for collaboration. When managers believe collaboration among employees is needed for more coordinated and integrated work efforts, they can use several different structural options. Some of the more popular include cross-functional teams, task forces, and communities of practice. A cross-functional team is a work team composed of individuals from various functional specialties. When a cross-functional team is formed, team members are brought together to collaborate on resolving mutual problems. Ideally, the artificial boundaries that separate functions disappear, and the team focuses on working together to achieve organizational goals. Another structural option organization may use is a task force, a temporary committee or team formed to tackle a specific short-term problem. The temporary nature of a task force is what differentiates it from a cross-functional team. Task force members usually perform many of their normal work tasks while serving on the task force. However, the member of task force must collaborate to resolve the issue that has been assigned to them. When the issue or problem is solved, the task force is no longer needed, and members return to their regular assignments. Communities of practice are types of internal collaborations, which are groups of people who share a concern, a set of problems, or a passion about a topic, and who deepen their knowledge and expertise in that area by interacting on an ongoing basis.
So let me explain what is telecommuting. Telecommuting is a work arrangement in which employees work at home or are linked to the workplace with the computer. So needless to say, not every job is a candidate for telecommuting, but many are. One approach to flexible work arrangements is a compressed work week, a work week where employees work longer hours per day but fewer days per week. So the most common arrangement is for 10-hour days per week. So another alternative is flex time. You can call that flexible work hours. It is a scheduling system in which employees are required to work a specific number of hours a week but are free to vary those hours within the limits. A flex time schedule typically designates certain common core hours when all employees are required to be on the job, but allows starting, ending, and lunch hour time to be flexible. So the job sharing is the practice of having two or more people that split a full-time job. Uh, Many companies have used job sharing during the economic downturn to avoid employee layoff. So that is my presentation for the learning objective number 3. Thank you for listening.
Now we will talk about some issues that the business have to face with contingent workers, especially those who are independent contractors or freelancers. They are facing with classifying who actually qualifies as one, because the decision on who is and who isn't an independent contractor isn't as easy and as unimportant as it may seem. Companies don't have to pay Social Security, Medicare, or unemployment insurance taxes on workers classified as independent contractors. And the second issues that they have to face with contingent workers is that the process of recruiting, screening, and placing these contingent workers where their work skills and efforts are needed, as because their important steps help ensure that the right people are in the right places at the right time in order to get work done efficiently and effectively. So any organization that wants to minimize potential problems with its contingent workers need to um, need to know that to pay attention on hiring. So final issue that we want to look at is the importance of contingent employees' performance. Just like regular employee, a contingent employee is brought on board to do some specific work task. So it's important that the managers have a method of establishing goals, schedules, and deadlines with the contingent employees. So it's also important that mechanisms be in place to monitor work performance as well as the goal achievement, especially if the contingent employee is working off-site.
Hey Sky, I'm Yi. Today I will talk to you about the case of Chapter 11. Answer for the first question. I believe that there have to be an all or nothing proposition. Yahoo at this point were behind in performance compared to other competitors like Google, Facebook, and Twitter. Because Yahoo had not been performing on top of their industry, the employees were more demoralized and started doing a little work as needed. So, if the employees that were physically at work were only doing a little work as possible, if it is safe to assume that the remote workers were doing the same or even less. The CEO Marisol Mayer noted the lack of work ethic from the remote workers. The only way for Yahoo to catch up and compete with other competitors, they need to be all in and working their best. I believe that it can only be accomplished by being a physical office, because working remotely obviously had not been working for them. If this move wasn't made, there is a possibility that Yahoo could have gone under. The second question. Firstly, they can do is give incentives. Probably, the more effective way to make your employees work hard is to give them something to work for. Incentives can range from a gift cards to ride or even promotions. Money will always make people work hard. Secondly, give your employee deadline that help more reach. Giving a deadline makes sure that the employees is working efficiently and effectively if they want to keep their job. Finally, giving employees positive feedback go a long way because it makes them feel more appreciated. The third question. From the management perspective, first let's take a look at productivity. productivity is not as effective as it could be if it were in their office, because they can control the working environment the employee would be in and limit distraction. From the innovation stand, it may be a positive because employees might be more creative and innovative if they aren't stuck in a cubicle or an office. From the collaboration stand, this is horrible because if employees are working remotely, they aren't working with a group or team. Now, from an employee perspective, from the productivity stand, maybe they feel like they can work more efficiently if they work remotely from a couple of days in a week or all the time. From the innovation stand, employees probably feel like it's easier to be more creative if they aren't in a boring or blank office all day. From the collaboration stand, this probably would be the only negative because they would have to set specific tasks if they need to collaborate with someone, and an immediate meeting would pose a problem. The 4 questions. I don't believe that in the day and age that it is critical to have FaceTime. I said this day and age because technology is so advanced. You are able to FaceTime if you are needed. With the technologies, basically everything that can be done in an office can be done in a different location. Also, another reason that I believe that it is not crucial is because people are doing it right now. If it wasn't crucial thing to have FaceTime, then the working remotely method would have already failed and no one would be doing it. And the finally question. Personally, being able to work remotely is not important to me at all. I want to be working in an office with my co-worker and my boss because I feel like it's make a small community. It is place to keep everyone accountable to at least one person and keeps you on track. If I were to work at home, I could probably work efficiently over time. But I feel like at first it would be hard for me to get distracted by the thing at all. That's it. Thank you.